All right, ready?
Yeah, I was just taking a picture of your face real quick.
My face?
Yeah, the big fucking DJ Avicii. With your fucking...
Well, it's easier for me to talk with one off so I can hear myself. Because when you have this, I can't hear myself right now, and I feel like I sound like a fucking idiot. So I need to hear myself. You used to be able to hear yourself through the thing, but I can't hear myself anymore.
Yeah.
Ever since you came here. I don't know. I think we fucked something up, but whatever.
We're getting there.
It's all right. All right. Welcome back to the Job That Built Me podcast with James, Rich, and our guest today, Zane Riggs. Zane, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties this time, but we'll see. Zane, what's going on?
What's going on, guys? I'm glad to be here. Finally made this happen. I'm honored.
Yeah. It's
glad to have you here.
It's been a few months since we started planning it, but thanks again for joining us. So tell us a little about yourself.
Man, I work for a fairly large urban department in the Southeast. In the city that I grew up in, I've been on the job for 13 years. This past spring, got promoted to captain, and so I'm still, somewhat still adjusting to the new role of riding in the front right seat and getting my sea legs there. But on a busy engine company, and thoroughly enjoy it. That's really all I've ever done is work on busy engine companies. So to have that assignment after a promotion like, captain was a perfect fit for me. So that's what's going on.
Cool. How'd you get started in the fire service?
So I grew up in the inner city, all through the 90s, early 2000s. I grew up in the East Nashville community. And back then it was the place to be as far as fires and things like that went. There were vacants. There were, the neighborhood was quite a bit of crime. I don't want to make it sound like I grew up in Harlem, during the war years or anything, but there were, there were challenges back then. And so I saw a lot of fire activity as a kid. And then even when I was 12 or 13 years old, my best friend's house, there was one house between us, their house burned. And what I now recognize was a really good fire. Thinking back on it, it was rocking. But those experiences, seeing constant, there's a historic engine company that was close to me that I would walk down and hang out. And when I was probably 14 or 15 years old, my grandparents bought a home in another community. And if you walked all the way through their backyard, it would take you to the firehouse parking lot. And I got the nerve to walk down there one day. And in all honesty, and I've told the guy this because his son's on the job now, but I walked in the bay and somebody opened the door and said, "Hey, young man, you want to come in?" That was probably the most pivotal moment as again, 14, 15 years old. And I never looked back. When I stepped inside and hung out and started learning the shifts and started hanging out, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like most kids, like most young guys, you want to be a fireman. Everybody says, I grew up wanting to be a fireman, but I was really serious about it. And so that moment was pivotal. And I told him that years after I came on. I was like, dude, I don't know if you know this or not, but when you opened the door and asked me if I wanted to come in, that altered my life. Like it literally did. It altered my life. I mean, had he not done that, maybe I would have found my way here. I don't know, but that was a pivotal moment. So again, just growing up around fires and in the inner city, seeing that sort of action, and then that experience there, that's what led me here.
Hell yeah. Is that guy still on the job?
He's retired, but his son is on now. And at some point, again, I worked an overtime shift with his son. And I said, you know what? For years, I've been meaning to tell your dad that was something. Because after that moment, I spent the next probably 7 or 8 years of my life hanging around that firehouse. I grew up there. And I had my dad wasn't a fireman, no family experience. It was just that interaction and then hanging around there for the next 7 or 8 years or however long it was. I mean, I hung around a firehouse until I got hired, but that was a pivotal moment. And I said, I need to get in touch with your dad and tell him that.
That's pretty awesome, man.
That's awesome.
And it goes to show you that you're not making just a difference when you're on the fire ground. You're doing
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always, we don't have a community of kids where I work now necessarily. It's a really super busy intersection, but I work in the inner city, and the bay doors were always up. Anytime we saw kids, there's a basketball goal in the bay, come in. Cause I mean, you never know the interaction or the life that you could potentially alter just by having those little moments with neighborhood kids.
Yeah, man, that's huge.
Absolutely.
I think that's a pillar of the fire service that needs to be protected. We got to keep doing that. Keep the doors up.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, that's awesome. So we got where you came from. We got where you are now. We hit who shaped you a little bit. Tell us about your first fire. Do you remember it?
I do remember my first fire, and a lesson was learned that I actually didn't figure out until, I don't know, it's maybe years later. Fourth on an engine company, we get bumped out, and it's obvious we've got a fire. I was so amped up that I remember fire, but that's about it. I pulled the line, got in there, and was knocking down fires. I melted my mask. It was blow torching out of this bay area. I melted my mask. And at the time, I thought it was really cool. It took me I think I even had some pats on the back. Like, hey, man, great job. Good job. And it wasn't until I didn't know anything. It was just brand new. I just wanted to be aggressive and show everybody that I was, capable. It wasn't until probably 2 years down the road where I was like, I'm still learning. I'm still like, man, I almost ended my career on what I think was essentially a car fire inside of a building with some other, just one room. It was almost a failure. And I looking back on it, I was like, man, I wish somebody would have grabbed me and be like, hey, dude, this isn't necessary. But that was my first fire. And again, it wasn't until years later that looking back on it, I was like, I made a huge mistake there. And I wish somebody had taught me a lesson about that. But again, I think it was just essentially a car fire in a building. My first fire.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. One, you catch that out the gate and you're like, all right, that's a good blower. But you also have that perspective now to look back as a more seasoned guy. Like, maybe I can correct somebody else coming down the road.
100%. Yeah. There's a better way of doing this. Aggressiveness is good, but if you end your career because you're taking in, all the hot air in your lungs, then you haven't done anybody and yourself any good. And so, years later, I was like, okay, I've learned. I had that mask for a long time because I thought it was so cool. And I threw it away at some point. Like, you know what, this isn't it. I'm all for having some things that we can look back on, burn up helmets and those sorts of things. We need to make a push, but that wasn't it. And so I threw it away. I was like, you know what, this isn't. I don't want this thing anymore.
Solid, man. I like it.
So, would you say that that's your most impactful fire? Do you have another fire that comes to mind?
No, I don't even think about that one very much. I hadn't thought about it in years. My most impactful fire was my time in the southeast community of where I work. We had an apartment fire one night where we ended up making several grabs. That was by far my most impactful fire. Middle of the night. Middle of the night, it came out as an apartment fire with people trapped. But when we got there, the people that were trapped were accounted for. We actually had them shelter in place. there wasn't any indication that in this particular apartment there were people trapped. It's a heavy fire blowing out of the third floor window. We get stretched up, go in, make our way to the fire. And the push wasn't any big deal. Smoke was banked down, but it wasn't high. It wasn't, no big deal. Get to the fire room. And just as I start blacking the fire out, I hear my captain yell behind me. It's kind of muffled, but I hear him say, "How do I get out?" And about that time, I realized he had a kid that was just outside the fire room in the kitchen, and kind of help him get oriented, find his way out. And we're up there by ourselves. We've got a ton of companies coming, but this was an easy push. I think to myself, I need to do a search real quick. Like I need to go back and check. I passed some rooms on our way in to the fire room, and I go back and find probably, I think there were four kids on a mattress that was on the floor. Good positioning for them because the fire was vented. It was still, it wasn't a great atmosphere, but it wasn't the worst. Grabbed one of the kids, made my way out with them, and then as other crews were coming up to get the others, it was a mess. There were crimes committed, and some people have since been sentenced to long prison terms for leaving the kids there by themselves. An infant was lost in the fire room. So that was by far the most impactful fire. And it drug on for years because of the court case. They'd send us an email, say you're going to have to come to court, and it would get delayed, all that, how that goes. And so it finally concluded, I guess, probably this past winter. So that was by far the most impactful fire that I've had.
Wow. How do you think that's changed your career since then?
That, not speaking for myself exactly, but that fire altered some careers. I've talked to one person in particular who said that they hadn't been the same since. And that person is one hell of a fireman, somebody that you would want with you no matter where you were. Just that they felt like it changed them, and they did. They carried out the worst one. For me, for a while, anytime I would come down, we have a 2-story home, and anytime I would come downstairs holding my little girl, I'd remember carrying the little girl down these stairs on the way to the ambulance. And it also taught me, we walked down this hallway again, because the conditions weren't bad. But had I been crawling or at least tripoding down this hallway, I may have seen them on the floor when I passed the first time. Wow. So I tell people about that. Like, they tell you if you can't see your feet, you need to be crawling, whatever. But all of us, we walk upright if the conditions aren't bad, because it's easier to move that way. We don't know. I don't think we always have to be crawling, but there is the advantage of getting down low and seeing into these rooms and getting the layout. And I tell people that story sometimes, especially the younger guys, like, hey, we're walking right now, but we can't really see what's low. And this happened to me. And so, it worked out. I don't think they were any worse for the wear, but I did think about that afterward.
Wow. That's incredible. Definitely impactful, and lessons learned that you can share that make other guys better and improve yourself. I mean, who knows the benefits long term from that?
Yeah,
how many guys would be better because of that?
Yeah,
that's awesome. I hope
so.
Yeah.
Huh. So I mean, yeah. How are the guys in the firehouse? Did you guys band together closer after that, or?
Yeah, we did. I feel like there's a connection now. That time at that engine company, it was a super busy engine company, and we all went there together. We had a game plan, and it worked out. And man, it was such a blast. My captain then was just, again, he's just the best. That was something else I've talked about regarding that fire too. With the people we had that night, the crew we had, there was so much comfort in knowing that it doesn't matter what we're going to, business is going to get taken care of. And I'm confident in these guys enough that I know that if I get jammed up, we're good, but that's likely not even going to happen because these guys are so good. There was a lot of comfort going to that fire that night. I remember him turning around and looking at me and just giving the nod, like, and we didn't say a word. There was no exchange of, there was nothing. It was quiet going. We were just listening to the information that we had. And the days after and the weeks after, we'd just send an occasional text like, hey, how's everybody doing? Everybody good? Didn't talk about it much at the firehouse, I don't think, but it was just like, I remember again, the first time that I came down the stairs holding my little girl, she was probably 2 at the time, 2 or 3, pretty close to the age of the girl that I brought out. And I texted him, I said, dude, I just came down the stairs with my little girl for the first time and it's right back. And, we text back and forth for a little bit, like, hey, if you need anything, here, if you need to get together, we can. But yeah, I feel like anytime we see each other now, we don't mention it, but we know we've got that bond for sure.
Yeah. I had a very similar experience recently with you get that kind of bond with guys and you're like, it's very hard to put into words that comfort and just the unspoken is like the head nod, right?
Yeah.
The head nod or the bro hugging. It's like, what's up, bro? Like,
yeah, 100%.
What's going on? But like,
yeah,
we're right there.
Like one of the shitty things about incidents like that is it also brings back other incidents into your head. Like you start thinking about everything that you've experienced, and it's not fun.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I work in an engine company, a couple of engine companies, a couple of firehouses away from that particular engine company. And we passed that apartment complex the other day. It was terribly, it was so busy. We were way out of our area, but we made a call up in that general area and we passed it. And I realized that as we were going down the street and passing this particular apartment complex, I was like, I still don't want to see that damn place. I don't like, it's, I in all honesty, don't feel like I have any sort of, I don't dream about it. I don't think about it every day or anything like that. But when in the general area, that feeling comes back of like, man, that sucked. That should have just been a good first in, easy peasy fire. And it turned into something, different. And it was something that it didn't have to be. It was just shitty parents, shitty parenting that were more worried about going out to the club than they were being at home with the kids. It was, just so unnecessary. But, we did the absolute damnedest we could. We got out fast. We got out super fast. We got stretched fast. The outcome for them was as good as it possibly could have been.
Yeah, you did all you could.
Yep.
You said three out of the 4 ended up surviving.
So I think, man, I always get my numbers mixed up, but there were 3 or 4 on the mattress in the room off the hallway, which again, thank goodness they were on the floor. There was one just outside of the fire room that was badly burned, but did survive. I've kind of been trying to find out where he is. I haven't been able to hear of anything if he's in state custody. I mean, I don't know. And then the infant in the fire room. So I think 3 or 4 total that survived. And then one that did not.
So your department makeup, is it mostly engines? Like, do you guys have truck companies? And
yeah, we're pretty engine heavy. Yeah, we've got right around 40 stations. We're pretty engine heavy. Yes, trucks and a couple of towers, several heavy rescues. But yeah, engine.
What do you get on a box?
So on a regular house fire, 3 engines, truck company, heavy rescue, a couple of different chiefs, and then there's also a RIT response as well, which is an additional engine truck. So we're able to throw a lot of people at a fire. I mean, we can. We're a very aggressive department, and so again, because we've got personnel to throw at it.
Cool. I was just trying to figure out, because coming from the Northeast, we get a career side, you get a very dry truck, and engine attack based. Like, these are your specific tasks, and this is what you do. Right. I was curious if you guys are the same, because you guys said you went in a search. Like, did you have truck companies there or rescues at the same time, or do your engines search off the line while you're also?
They were on the way.
They
were on the way. They hadn't gotten there quite yet. This was in our first due, and it wasn't too far from the firehouse. So, and I got to preface this too. I like firehouse, the term firehouse better, but around here it's fire hall.
Really?
Yeah. And something that's weird is I heard somebody. What was I watching? What's the documentary about the bikes, about the motorcycle guys that was released a few years ago? The guys that are like PTSD, the firemen, like PTSD.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget the name of it.
What was it? What's the name of it? At any rate,
I got it.
Florian's, St. Florian's,
St.
like
Florian's, something.
All right. Yeah. So one of the Canadian guys mentioned his fire hall.
Yeah, they big in Canada, fire hall.
So I thought that, which makes me want to say firehouse even more, because they say fire hall in Canada, but
I would have thought it would have been fire station.
I don't. It's weird. It's weird.
Because it's usually the Southeast is usually fire station.
Really, I've heard
I think
fire hall around here, and there's some. I think maybe Alabama or somewhere. There's another area that refers to it as a fire hall, and I've never been able to find out how that got started here, or why that particular phrase is used here. I'm not sure. Firehouse to me is so much more classic and tells so much more about. Fire hall sounds like a community, building with no meaning. Firehouse, it's our house, 24 hours at a time.
And what's your shift schedule?
24 on and 48 off.
Not bad.
It's it's what everybody is used. It's how we've always done things. It is a very busy department. My engine company is going to do 5,400 runs this year. So that
is that EMS included?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. Got off this morning, and so the night wasn't terrible last night, but the nights are usually pretty brutal. But last night wasn't too bad.
There you go. I say we all worked last night then.
Yeah.
James has had a little bit busier night than most of us.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Me.
I'm feeling it this morning.
And Noah's mandoed, so we'll see how his night.
Noah got stuck.
We'll touch base with him.
I haven't gotten to meet Noah yet.
Noah's a solid dude. Real solid dude. What age did you get on, Zane?
I was 29 when I came on the job, which felt to me it felt older. And it is, in all honesty, if you can come on at 21, or even some guys that start volunteering when they're 18 or 19 or even younger than that. 29 felt young to me, or felt old to me, but that's how it worked. I did some time, some government time previously to that, so I had a foot in the door, I guess you could say, but I came on the job when I was 29.
No, I think coming on the job is actually pretty solid as well. Like, I came on when I was 29 as well, like career side, but I volunteered from when I was way younger. But you have so much more perspective, and you've had real jobs.
Yeah.
Like, we were just talking about this yesterday at work, and there's a difference between guys who come in at like 18 or 19 and a little later, because you never swung a hammer when it was 20 degrees out. So when you start complaining about shit, you're like, oh, this is terrible, man. Like, no, dude, working outside sub-freezing, banging your thumbs with a hammer, that's bad. Being a fireman's pretty damn good.
Right, no doubt. And I do see that in young guys. So we have So I'm the coordinator we have a mentor program for recruits, and I'm the coordinator for that. And seeing that the 21 and 22-year-olds, man, and I'm thinking about myself when I was 21 or 22. I don't know that I could have handled this job at 21 or 22. I was an idiot and, not very mature and just wanting to do what Zane wanted to do. I think, physically we all want to be, you want to start this as, when you're young, but mentally, I try not to look back and regret too much, but physically I wish I would have come on a little bit younger, but I think 29 was probably good for me. Again, like you said, had some perspective.
Mm.
Yeah, I think perspective is huge in this, and especially for what we're doing, right? Because say 21-year-old you comes across that job with the kids, how does 21-year-old you react to that? How does that shape you?
Drinks.
So, yeah,
Drinks a lot.
100%.
That and whether you have your own kids as well.
Right.
That changes everything.
But I don't know, we all get here in the right time, in my opinion. But that's pretty awesome. So you've been on, you said 13 years now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything you right now would tell you when you got on, if you could?
Yeah, slow down. I was so eager to prove to people that I was not necessarily capable of doing the job, that I was willing to do the job. And I had a hard time slowing down, and I mean that physically and mentally. I ran off and left captains, wanting to go work. Somebody should have grabbed me. I don't think it ever happened. We were talking about this recently. I wish somebody would have grabbed me and said, "Hey, man, listen, we appreciate what you're wanting to do, but you got to slow down here. One, we've got to stay together. Two, there's things you don't know." I was like a moth to a flame, and I wish I would have been able to tell myself, "Hey, listen, slow down. You're here. You're good. You made it, but slow down and take this all in and listen to people." But I was just concerned about how I was viewed. When you're a rookie, you just like, man, God, I want these guys to know that they can, that they can trust me and that they know I'm going to do my part. And I tried too hard to convey that.
Yeah.
You want to try to prove yourself as fast as possible, but sometimes fast is not the right way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember running off to this fire. I mean, I got out and just like sprinted to this fire, and my old, getting ready to retire captain at the time, I didn't see him for an hour, and the smoke finally started to clear and lift or whatever, and he was like, "Hey, buddy, where you been?" And I wish at that moment he would have taken me outside. I mean, I had a lot of respect for him. He was a good guy, but he had other things going on in his life. And the fire service was starting. I mean, it was, he was close to retirement. And I wish he had taken me outside and said, "Hey, man, listen, appreciate the enthusiasm, but you went about this the wrong way." And so when I can, I take the opportunity to tell guys that, to slow down.
I mean, I think you're in the right place for that now too. Had you not had those experiences or had that motivation, although youth is interesting and like you always want to go, but now you're in a position where you've had those mistakes and you can relay that. Like the mentorship program sounds pretty awesome. Tell us a little more about that.
So it got started a number of years ago. Was 100% accepted by the department, by the top brass, and it kind of got, I wouldn't say stagnant, but the person that was running it admittedly said, I haven't done much with it, and gave it up. They had other things going on. So I guess 2 years ago now, I took over the program, and it's it's not performance based. This is just strictly mentorship. It's just if you have no experience in the fire service. So when they come out of the academy, or just before, we go down and talk to them, tell them about the mentor program, what's going to happen. You're going to be assigned somebody. You're going to be assigned a firefighter, an engineer, a captain, somebody out in the field. We're going to pair you up with them. Here's their contact. Here's their information. If you have any questions, if you're not sure what to do in a particular time, call them, get in touch with them, fill them out, ask them about their experiences, just learn from them. I've got to give Chief Scott Thompson and the Colony Fire Department in Texas a shout out. I reached out to Chief Thompson when I took the program over. I didn't know him, but he graciously talked to me over the phone, guided me, just gave me some pointers on how to advance the mentor program, what I needed to do. He literally wrote the book on mentorship. For if anybody doesn't know, you can go on his website. Forgive me, I forgot what it is, but you can download a copy of mentor programs in the fire service for free. And so Chief Thompson has been, a mentor of mine in helping me with this program. But, again, there are so many benefits to it. Identifying problems out of the gate and being able to maybe alter somebody's career. Statistics show that your turnover rate's not as high when you have a mentor program. And so it's been good, man. It's been, going down and talking to, we've had a lot of recruit classes in the past few years and continue to, and towards the end of their stay, myself and a couple of others go down and talk to them. And it's just cool seeing, being in the room with recruits, you put yourself in that seat all over again. And, it's a good thing.
That's awesome, man. I wish more departments had something like that, because the things we're going to these days and we're getting involved with, and also the kids we're getting in, I think it's just beneficial for everyone and there's kind of leading up and leading down in that, where older guys are learning about the younger guys, and on the flip side, they're kind of picking up on the ways of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you never, those relationships, you never know who is going to end up and listen. It's a department, this size, a big department, there's always, I don't want to say the politics word, but you never know about relationships, right? I mean, you make relationships early on with somebody and they advance or you advance, and you're able to, if you maybe want to change something in the department, you have a hand up in doing that. There's just, again, and we encourage them just to make relationships. You're not going to like everybody. That's cool. But make relationships, start out now and get your career off to a good start. So again, the program is, it's good. Things are going well.
That's phenomenal. How do you identify mentors?
So it is really anybody that wants to be, we give an opportunity to be. Usually a couple of times a year, we'll reach out and say, hey, we need more mentors. We need more mentors on the street. If anybody's interested, let us know. Again, because the program it's a formal program. So they do have to go through a quote class. Can I teach you how to be a mentor? No, I can't teach you how to be a mentor, but because it is recognized, there is this sort of, class that we have to put on and whatnot. And so we feel like if somebody is going to use their time to do this, we should give them the opportunity in it. Now, look, they have to hold up their end of the bargain. It's up to the mentor and the mentee. It's only successful if they're communicating. Now, they don't have to communicate daily or anything like that. But if we hear of a recruit reaching out to somebody and they're not getting a response, or they're not meeting their expectations, then we just don't use them again, because they have to be available. The relationship is allowed to do whatever, as far as, now we get a lot of people who have experience elsewhere. So do they need somebody to guide them on what to do at shift change? Probably not. But for those who need that, you got to be there to answer that question when available. What we've been able to do is, because our department's big, in the past we had, um, even if you were paired up with somebody, they may be on a different shift at a different firehouse across the city. What we were able to do, and it doesn't always work out, but what we were able to do is pair them up. Once they're assigned to a particular area, that their mentor is in that area as well, so that they can have some one-on-one time. And again, it's not necessarily about training them on how to pull hose or, cut a hole in the roof or anything like that. But if that's what they want to do, then that's available too.
Wow. That
It also helps, even if they have experience elsewhere, it helps them navigate the aspects of your department specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Because cultures, it doesn't matter if they're, not if they're from the next county over or next city over or whatever. Our culture is different than theirs. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. And I wonder how much that also helps the mentors in their career path and their growth, like as they age through the department too. That's that program seems really, really awesome. I'm pretty jealous, to be honest with you. That's pretty sweet.
Again, Chief Thompson was instrumental in helping me to just advance it into, again, it can be done anywhere. But again, it has to be the fire department itself. They have to be on board with it. And I think he says, if you can get your mentor program to last 5 years, it'll be around from there on. And I think ours is probably right around 5 years old at this point.
So we'll give you a shout in 2 years, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep, got you back. I might have glitched there for a minute. So in 2 years, we'll give you a shout, make sure you got it still?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You got it. Scott Thompson, Chief Scott Thompson, he's the man. I mean, I've seen him a couple of times speak, and like the wisdom that guy pours out, and I imagine it's because he's been mentored by some really great individuals, and like James and I are friends with a couple of the guys from the colony. That's a top-notch ecosystem that they're building, and they're pushing out to everybody else.
Yeah, sure seems to be. And he's very gracious with his time. I texted him the other day. He texted me right back. I felt like it was really cool. There was a few weeks ago, and I'll give somebody else a shout out that's mentored me that has no business talking to me, because he's such a Captain Bill Guston.
Great guy.
I have gotten to talk to and have gotten to know since I was promoted this past spring. He was one of the first person. Again, I didn't know him either, but I reached out to him and just said, "Hey, man, listen, I just got promoted. Give me some ideas here. Give me your thoughts on the position." And 1 week, I remember talking to Chief Thompson and then Captain Guston, and I was like, "Man, I was so honored for a fireman to talk to people like that. It's like I'm talking to professional athletes. In fact, I would rather talk to them than professional athletes. These guys they're legendary, and again, gracious with their time and always willing to help." So I was thinking that was cool. I told my wife, I was like, "I know you don't know who these people are, but I've just, in a matter of days, I've talked to both, and I'm so freaking honored."
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how big the fire service is and how small it is once you get outside your own department. So did you fall into this by people pushing you from your department outside, or did you step outside your department and start meeting these people?
I just stepped outside of it and wanted to meet these people. I just, for all the bad that there is in social media, there's a lot of freaking good too. And this is a prime, blue collar is a prime example. Social media has made me a better fireman. 100%. The sites that are out there, Bobby Eckert and his site, Top Floor Tactics, this place. There's so many, little communities like this that have made me a better fireman. And I've reached out to people, again, like Captain Guston and Chief Scott Thompson and several others. I reached out to Adam Mayers. We were doing some sort of hose work. I reached out and got in touch with Adam Mayers. Everybody like you said, everybody's so accessible. If you want some info, it's there. You just got to reach out there and get it. Miami was doing something. Oh, Miami, I gotta give him a shout out. And let me make sure I get his name right so I don't mess it up here. Lieutenant Captain Gustin got me in touch with Lieutenant Shane Pyle in Miami. Shout out to Lieutenant Pyle. We were wanting to change one of our crosslays, and they were doing something in particular that I really liked. So Bill Gustin said, call this guy. Didn't know him. Call him. Get in touch with him. The next shift he works, he FaceTimes me. He's got his crew out in the bay, and they deploy both of these lines and re-rack them just to show me how it works. And we're honored to do it. And I was like, man, that is so cool. This guy didn't know me at all, but he was like, hey, Zane, this is what we're doing, man. We're going to show you how this works here, whatever. And again, took the time to get out there and deploy both of these lines and say, hey, this is how it works. These are the subtleties of it. This is how you re-rack it. And was really cool. So like you said, man, the fire service, everybody's willing to help. If you want to make what you're doing better, if you want to make your engine company better or your truck company better, there are always people that you can reach out to that are more than willing to help. And that's what's been really cool about talking to people outside of my department.
That's outstanding.
Social media has definitely brought us closer as a fire service with accessibility.
So
just like over the last 5 years, the amount of people that I've been able to contact and talk to and ask questions and everybody's been, I haven't had one person say like, I don't want to talk to you.
Right. Right. Nothing's proprietary in this job, man, or at least it shouldn't be. I think there are sometimes people that hold on to info. They're few and far in between.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd ask you, did you come into the fire service with this motivation? You just a naturally motivated guy? Did something motivate you to perpetually be better?
No, in fact, if I'm honest, the fire service is really the only thing that I treat this way. I don't have any major hobbies. I'm a big family guy. I've got a wife and two daughters, and I'd rather spend, a day doing whatever with them than really anything else. But the fire service in itself, I find, like, if you were to ask my wife, like, hey, did he remember to do this or that? She'd be like, no. Like, I don't remember shit around here. But if you ask me, if a random stranger asked me what kind of nozzles we have on our cross, oh, yeah, we got task force tips, yeah, I mean, like, there's something about the fire service. And I think it's because I really care about how I'm seen by other firemen and my crew. And I know you're not supposed to care what people think, but man, in the fire service for me, I do. I care about my reputation. I care about the way my crew sees me. I care about the way my chief sees me, and other people. It means a lot to me. So I've found myself always trying to get better and learning things, as much as I can.
Yeah, I would say you're leading by example pretty damn well.
I appreciate that. I hope so.
As a captain who's running the mentorship program, who's reaching out to guys outside the department to have this wisdom, and you're bringing it back and passing it on, I mean, it's proof in the pudding, man, that the constant betterment is only going to be better for the department and for the people we serve at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's something to be proud of, man. I'd give yourself a pat in the back. Probably don't, but I'd give yourself a pat in the back for that.
I appreciate that. I hope, again, I do. I hope at the end of the day, they'll, they tell us they don't tell us, but we have a saying, we're just a number. If we retire today, they'll replace us. And there is truth to that. But I do hope at the end of the day, like, I hope when I'm not there, there's a noticeable difference in that engine company. Again, I do. I care about my reputation a lot. I really do. It may be sometimes too much, but it matters to me.
Yeah, as it should.
Yeah.
As it should.
Okay.
I'd rather someone care about the reputation than be apathetic and not give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no winning in that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. And you do hear that, like, I don't care what they think. Like, and again, I guess there's a fine balance there, but I've always cared about
Yeah.
what other firemen, more of anything, what firemen think to me matters.
Yeah. No doubt. So it seems like you got a good bit tucked under your belt these days. What more do you want to accomplish in fire service?
Well, I'll be honest. At this point, I'm really not sure. This recent promotion was my absolute goal. I felt like when I got this position, when I got this captain's job, that I was like, man, I made it. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to have my own crew on a busy engine company. I've made it. Now, would I be content doing this from here on out? Yeah, I believe I would. But I want to continue the mentor program, and when the time comes, will I test for chief? Yeah, I'll probably test for it. Do I want? I mean, do I want? I don't know. I can't honestly answer that right now. I'm so content at the moment that I can't really say whether that interests me right now. I think being able to still do just to be a down and dirty fireman, but also lead from the front, that satisfies me. It's again, I think content is the best word I can possibly use. Right now, I'm very content with what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
So moving on a little bit further, what would you see yourself doing in retirement?
Oh man, I'm going to have some hobbies. Probably hiking. I do enjoy hiking quite a bit. Just being with the fam. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter. So just family stuff. I'm somebody that's perfectly content hanging out at home, like I said, with them, just chilling. But I know the girls won't. The two girls won't always be here, so hopefully we'll travel a little bit. And I hope to be. It's my goal, if nothing else, to be physically healthy.
Yeah.
I try to, and I don't try. I do. I eat pretty clean. I stay active. It's my goal to, when I decide to retire, and I want to retire on my own time, I'll be one of those guys that probably stays longer than he has to. My dad's 75. He's still extremely active and didn't want to retire when he did. So I think I'll probably be one of those guys that's like, why is he still here? But as long as I'm still physically able to do it, I want to, but I want to leave here physically. Again, my goal is to leave here physically healthy, that if I want to go out and go for a 6-7 mile hike or whatever, when I retire, that I can do that.
I got respect for that.
Yeah.
Big time. I don't want to be forced out. I kind of want to go on my own. And I kind of hope to stay as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if my wife would know what to do if I was home all the time every day.
Yeah.
I don't think
you need to go do.
think
You need to go do something.
Yeah, I don't think any wife does. And I noticed too, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Man, if I'm off more than one, 2 is my max. 2 is my max. And I got to get back. I got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't, it's not because I don't love my family or anything, but I feel like I need to get back in that routine. Any more than 2 shifts off, man. And my wife notices. She was like, you're restless. You got to get back.
Yeah, I know that feeling. My wife cracks up.
Yeah.
I go on vacation, and if I'm home for like 2 weeks, I have like the yarn and the push pins on the wall, and I'm figuring shit out. She's like, you got to go back to work. You got too much time on your hands, man.
Yeah. I got to get back and make a medic run.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Oh, man, that's funny. So, go ahead, James. What you got?
I was going to say, if you could, off the top of your head, if you could make any class, training or conference mandatory for for the entire fire service, what would you choose?
So I'll have to say that I haven't been, but FDTN, I think by far would be my number one answer because my understanding is, again, I haven't been. I hope to be able to go, but that the experience that you get there is as close to the real thing as you can possibly get. And we do not train in that kind of environment enough. We just don't. The academies don't do that for the most part. The conferences, you can't really. I mean, you can only get so close. But I think FDTN and the way that plus the guys that they have, Chief Lombardo, and the crew that they have up there, you couldn't possibly come away from that place and not have learned a good number of things. I think I would also say Insight Fire Training, Chief Andy Starnes, and all the TIC stuff that they do. Our TIC, the thermal imaging that we have now is so capable, but I don't think it's used correctly, and I'm including myself in that. I just don't think we know enough about it, and all the stuff that Andy Starnes and his cadre are teaching, I think, is extremely valuable. I've been to a number of conferences, but I think those two I would recommend.
Hell yeah.
FDTN seems to be the common theme in a lot of people that we talk to, and it's definitely on my agenda to make it out there in the next couple of years.
For sure. One of the guys on my crew has been. He's just like, it's incredible. He said, "Hey, don't wear your leather helmet there. Don't take your leather there, and find some gear that you can scrap afterward." And again, just the things I hear about it and the way that they go about it. It just, who else is it? So Chief Lombardo, Timmy Klett,
McCormick,
and just other, McCormick, and some other just legend. Bob Pressler. I want to get up there before Pressler and Lombardo retire. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite pictures. Actually, you know what? I should have sent this picture in. One of my most prized pictures in the fire service is me standing between Pressler and Lombardo at a conference. I was high on that for days. I mean, those guys don't know me I'm a nobody, but they, we sat and talked for a long time, and I was like, I got to get a picture with you guys. It's a great picture.
Yeah, our city hosted a conference with them a number of years ago. Or I should say, our union sponsored it, and I didn't realize at the time how big it was to have both of them in one room until now, and the amount of, I stood outside talking to Chief Lombardo, just like he was asking us about our rigs, and just talking to him, I'm like, thinking back now, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's the amount of knowledge that those two have, it's unbelievable.
And he's a sweetheart, like an absolute gentleman of a man.
Yes.
Just nonchalantly talking to them. It's just like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So you seem like you're into things quite a bit. And this is a pretty common question across most podcasts. Books. What do you got? What kind of books have influenced you? Who would you recommend a new guy read or a middle guy? Like, what kind of shapes your worldview if it comes to books, if you have books?
I got a ton of books. Whether I finished them or not is really debatable. My damn ADHD, man. It's got to dial me in. It's got to dial me in quick, or else I'm like, all right, 12 pages in. I've tried. Put that one on the shelf. I always tell the new people, you got to read Report from Engine Company 82. You got to read that one. It has nothing other than just the fire service itself. It's going to give you a view that of what they did back in the day. And that book is it's fun to read. It's amazing what they were doing during the war years in FDNY. Got to read that one. It's going to give you a false sense of reality, because we're not going to be doing that kind of work, but it's a must read. I know leadership gets hammered a lot has for the past few years. It's like, all right, we've heard leadership. It's important, but geez, man, I can't read another book on. However, um, Gary Appleby, a retired chief from Philadelphia, wrote for me and my personality by far the best leadership book I've ever picked up. It's called Leadership Values and Introspection. It's written in a way that you can see yourself in every one of these pages. Again, at the end of the chapters, there's an introspection, and you'll read like, do I do this? Do I not do this? It's wonderful. It's written so well. It's written for firemen. It's an easy read. It's not just some leadership book about I don't know how I would describe it, but it pertains so much to the fire service, and he uses fire scene examples. It's really well done. For those who are tired of this, just the standard leadership book, go out and grab Leadership Values and Introspection by Gary Appleby.
Wow. Okay. Add that to the list.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't heard that one yet. That's
You know what? It's
I'll
not,
write that
for
down.
whatever reason, it's not very popular. I know that Gary Appleby doesn't do interviews and podcasts. He's done one. And I can't remember which one it was. They had to beg him to do it, but he doesn't do social media. He doesn't do so. Maybe that's why, but I'm telling you, it's the best one.
Yeah, I'll definitely add that to the list.
yeah.
So you get to have dinner at the kitchen table. You get to pick whoever's there. Any fireman, anyone you want. One dinner. Who you going to have? And we'll give you an engine and a truck company. You can, if you want to go that far. You can pick everyone that's sitting there.
Oh, man. So I was looking at this question. So are we doing living or dead, or either or?
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Or any either or.
So one of our chiefs in the early 1900s, who was the chief during when motorized apparatus were first introduced to this city, and who was also the chief when one of the great fires happened. We were talking about numerous city blocks. I would want to talk. I'm just curious. I would want to know what he thought about where we were now. Lessons from that time period. How he went about forming the fire department. You know, that was a humongous change, going from horses that the men cared about so much to motorized apparatus. I know that firemen in chains. You know, I can't imagine what that was like, how he implemented that, how he got them on board with that. I've always been curious about what it was like, during the early 1900s in a city that was growing to be the fire chief. And to somebody else that from a distance seems like just the greatest person. And I don't have the privilege of knowing him, but Jeff Shoup out of Cleveland. I would love to sit down and have a firehouse meal with Jeff Shoup. He's taught so much about engine work and about hose work and that sort of stuff. Brass tacks, and I haven't seen him in a while. I hope he's doing well. He just seems like such a gentleman. I would like a dinner with him.
Outstanding. That's awesome.
All right, so we've been going for about an hour now. Got anything else, Rich?
Yeah, I got the unwritten question, the last one to drop on you, I think. So often we go through this career, and the only time you get to really say nice things about a guy is when you unfortunately get to go to his wake or give a eulogy. But if you had the chance right now and you could thank people for where you are today in your career or, in your life, who would you thank, just so you can memorialize it and at least, maybe they see it and they know if they listen.
The guys who took me in, again, when I was a teenager and allowed me to hang out with them and trusted me to be around the firehouse. I feel like I often think about them. I owe my career to them. I see one of the retired guys at the gym every now and again, and he was instrumental. Again, they were just so trusting of me. Just some, kid from the neighborhood coming and hanging out. Had they not let me hang out there, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if things would have changed or not. I feel like maybe they would, but I owe those people my career, because it helped shape me. It helped, when learn. I learned the culture, so it made coming in a little bit easier. Um, I'm grateful. I'm beyond grateful to those guys that, and I bounced around. Once I found the firehouse I started out hanging out at was not the last one. I figured out as time went on, the first one I started hanging out at wasn't very busy. They were in a kind of an outlying community. I started figuring out like they're having a lot of fun in the ghetto over there. I think I want to go see what's going on. And the same thing, I went to it and they welcomed me in. And there was one in an even worse neighborhood. And I was like, kind of like what those guys are doing over there. So I went over to that one and they welcomed me in. And, they shaped how I went about things when I got on the job. I was like, I just want to be like those guys. And so, again, I'm grateful for all of them allowing me to come in and have meals with them and make calls with them. And they did a great service to me.
And that's hard to beat that, right? Hard to beat that right there. That's the good shit. That's the fire service.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
100%.
oh, James, that's all I got.
I think we can wrap it up then.
Yeah.
But Zane, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me, man. I'm honored. I know I'm not doing the training portion of this, but I have no business doing the training portion of this with the guys you've had on, the past several months. I'm honored to show my face on Blue Collar. You've had some solid dudes doing some training stuff recently. So kudos to you guys for what you're doing for the fire service, man.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
appreciate that, man.
Hopefully we can continue for many years to come, hopefully.
So stick with us after we kill the recording, but really appreciate it, man. Cap, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.